Mr. Markelle Fultz. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed.
Man, I appreciate you coming on the Rematch, basketballnews.com, Fly TV. Your journey is really one of the most inspiring NBA stories of the last years. I mean, you turned your entire career around. And, when many in the NBA, all the so-called experts, whether they're being paid a king's ransom at ESPN or FS1 or whatever, or the know-it-all of social media, the self-proclaimed experts, a lot of them really, wrote you off. They really kind of left you for dead in the NBA sense, of course. But you were able to really prove a lot of them wrong. And I personally love stories like this because they're so inspirational. You know what I mean? But I want to go all the way back. Well, let's slow walk through the whole process, but I want to go all the way back to DeMatha. So, my son Malcolm is a sophomore at DeMatha this year. And, as I told you, he's a huge fan of yours. Yeah. All of his boys, teammates, you know what I mean? They just look up to you. Yeah. And so he's really one of the main people that have always wanted me to interview you. You know what I mean? Because he was like, you got to do his story. Like his story is inspirational for him. So let's talk about how it all started at DeMatha.
Pretty much I started off going to DeMatha 9th grade year. I came in as a freshman, just coming into first time going to a private school, all boys school, and not really knowing what to expect. Just going in open-minded. Just wanted to put my best foot forward, both academically and on the court. I came in my freshman year. I tried out for freshman. I made freshman. So I actually played freshman my first year at DeMatha. And then going into my next year, kind of did a lot of workouts with varsity, kind of in JV, but mostly varsity. And I ended up trying for varsity, and I ended up getting cut. And I ended up getting moved down to JV for the year. And
so stop there because that's a big part that you got cut. Your sophomore year, and of course, DeMatha is a special type of a program. You know what I mean? So, but still, you got cut. Your sophomore year. So at that point, talk about how disappointed, discouraged you were. I'm sure you had thoughts of transferring. What was all going through your mind?
It was just tough. It was the first time I actually been cut. I think from a team. I've never been cut before. And then just all the work that I put in to try to make varsity and being put down on JV, it wasn't a disbelief in my talent. It was more so of I feel like, should I be taking my talent somewhere else, or did I not do enough? Did I miss something? And I think at that moment, that was where I just buckled down and talking to my mom too. My mom's a strong woman who's has a big impact on my life. She just told me, when you start something, you got to finish it. So we're not going to transfer. You're going to work through it. And everything happens for a reason. So I just took that as a learning experience and really just grinded and used that to and every day in my workouts during practice, and also when I played games in JV, just to try to showcase my talent and in a sense almost prove the coaches and everybody who thought I wasn't supposed to be on varsity wrong. Not that they thought that I wasn't supposed to be there, but I took it as that and really just took it as every possession playing as hard as I could and competing as hard as I could just to try to prove everybody wrong. That's how I looked at it. And what a lot of people don't even know is I ended up getting moved up towards the end of the year just because I was playing so well, and I ended up getting moved up towards the end of the year playing varsity for a little bit before going into my junior year.
How was your relationship with Coach Jones? My son's a big fan of his. How did he help you through this process? How did he talk to you when he decided not to put you on varsity sophomore year? What was the advice that he gave you?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, continue to do what I'm doing, continue to grow as a player, and that it was a chance that I can get moved up during the year. So again, it was just my mindset of I just wanted to play at the end of the day. I just wanted to play basketball. And, in a certain sense, I would rather be playing JV and playing rather than, playing varsity and maybe not play that much. So it was a lot of stuff that went into it, but I didn't hold any grudges. I didn't think that it was anything at the time. And again, Coach had me in a lot of practices. He liked what I did. So again, it was just me showcasing my talent to make him feel a certain way to want to have to move me up, or make him, have to make a certain decision of, putting me on varsity. So our relationship grew as, the years went on. I've been going to his camp even before I was even in high school. So I knew kind of a lot about Coach Jones and the man he was and how he carried himself. So I was more so like, again, just a life lesson of just continuing to work and not, holding your head down and letting that change, what you want to do. So again, as I went into my junior year, again, our relationship grown, and I ended up winning player of the year my junior year, which was a big accomplishment, especially in the WCSC, which is one of the best conference in high school all around the world to me. And again, it just grew. And then going into my senior year, again, having another year there, just going out there and playing hard right before I went to college. I think from there on, our relationship grew a little bit more as I left school, just keeping in contact with all the guys that were in DeMatha, just supporting them. And also Coach continuing to build his legacy, in which now he's at Virginia Tech. And he actually talks a lot with my mom, and I talk to him every once in a while. But, just all the opportunities that, it's made me where I am today, to have the mindset that I have starting all the way back in high school, with being cut and knowing that it's okay to necessarily fail. It's not a failure because you learn from it and you improve. So I don't want to call it a failure. I think it's just a lesson, and it's taught me to carry that same thing in my life that what I do now.
So one of the things that we're going to hear, like kind of a recurring theme of yours, even starting here, is being knocked down and then picking yourself back up.
Yeah.
And it's been happening through your entire career. And, I'm going to point out the times when that happened, because, it's inspirational for the younger generation who look up to you to be able to understand that, sometimes life is going to throw you some bumps in the road. It's not always just going to all go the way that you plan. You're going to get knocked down, and you're going to have to learn how to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and push through. And that's really what your story is all about. I mean, coming back after being cut and then winning player of the year, that's a huge jump.
Very, very huge.
That's a huge jump. So you had to be dedicated, focused, re-energized, everything like that. Talk about the mental preparation that it takes to be able to overcome that. Because I'm sure people wanted you to transfer, people wanted you to quit, people wanted you all kind of different things. Absolutely. Talk about the mental preparation it took.
I think my mental preparation in this and through my whole career, like in my whole life, it's just I love basketball so much that I never really cared about too much what other people had to say. I never really worried about what people thought about me. I was always worried about going out on the court and just being able to hoop and have fun. And I think that mental really helped me, just worried about that. The only thing that I would worry about was just going to do what I had to do on the court, working hard in the classroom, and just grinding. And again, just knowing that, every day is not going to be perfect, and knowing that in order to grow, you have to, go bumps and bruises. That's the only way you can really grow, not only by your mistakes, but you can learn through other people's mistakes. So I love the game so much that I just stayed in the gym. I stayed grinding. I stayed trying to make myself better. And I knew that I wasn't perfect. So I was okay with, making mistakes. I wasn't scared to fail to a certain extent. And mentally, it's just I think I get a lot of it from my mom. Again, her being a single mom and having to take care of, me and my sister. I never seen her down. I never seen her pouting, even though I know her, especially now being older, that there were times where it was tough and times where things wouldn't go, our way. But and one thing I always seen her do, I seen her work hard and have a smile on her face and treat people with respect. So that was just one thing, characteristics that I always carry with me, not only on the court, but off the court.
That's great. That's great. So let's talk about your game a little bit. You have this kind of like a street ball, kind of back in the day, like an N1 mixtape, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's like a change of direction, a quick, you know what I mean? Where it's hard for people to stay in front of you, like a Herky Jerky type. How did you develop that?
It's actually funny, growing up, I watched a lot of N1. The Harlem Globetrotters. So I always used to love Hot Sauce, Professor, all these guys. And then also just watching NBA, seeing Brandon Roy, Jamal Crawford, guys that really have a lot of wiggle in their game. And it actually started off rough. When I was younger, I actually could shoot very well. And then, I always had big feet, so I was always tripping over my body. So I had to kind of learn how to control my body, even though I was falling.
Okay.
And it took a lot of work, just working on the basics of ball handling. And I kind of just mixing, a little bit of the and one into it. And I've learned that, my game is unorthodox. So it kind of throws people off. And like you said, herky jerky. So
Right.
sometimes it looks like I'm out of control, but I'm actually controlling my body. It's just the way I move, the way I flow. And it just came about like just a lot of time just in the gym. Sometimes I'm there messing around, playing horse, playing pick up with my guys, and I'm just trying stuff. And then it's other times where I work on certain movements so I can get it down to a T where I'm comfortable enough to do those in the game.
Right. That's what's up. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So you were the consensus number one pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to walk me through the process because Philly traded up in order to get the pick.
Yes.
And then the Boston Celtics and the Lakers were the other two teams that were, in the mix. Did you have a preference, or did it not really matter?
See, this is where it goes back to just the love of the game. Like, people always used to ask me, I used to always get that in interviews, like, do you have a team you want to play for? And my biggest thing was, I just want to hoop. I just want to go out there and have fun. I feel like I'm the type of player that So I'm always a kid at heart that just loves hooping, and I felt like I'm very adaptable to any situation. I just feel like if I'm given the opportunity, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do for my team to win, and that's where I felt like what made me a valuable player, with also being able to score the ball I would, and also contribute on both ends of the floor. So I didn't really have a preference going into the NBA. I just wanted to be the number one pick. That was my goal that I had when I was in high school and younger, and I felt like I worked extremely hard through college to pursue that. I wish I could have won more, but I knew I did everything, and my teammates, competed hard. We didn't go out there and try to lose games, so I wasn't really disappointed. I felt confidence in what I did, and the process was kind of crazy. I never knew, even though I was still mock draft sometimes number one. I never really took it as I'm the number one pick until I heard my name called, because even in today's day, I realized that the NBA is a business, and you never know until you actually see it done, so you can get traded at any moment, all types of things. So even leading up to the draft, when I was in there, just anxious, waiting to hear my name. I know I hear I'm going to be first. I hear all the rumors, but again, I'm not trying to really sit into that. I'm trying to, live in the moment and really appreciate that. So just hearing my name called number one, it was just, a dream come true, and it still to this day hasn't hit me yet that I was the number one pick. Because I still carry myself the same way. I treat people the same. I work as hard as I did before. And it's just a really dope thing, just to speak something into existence and put the work in, and then it actually comes true. I was more happy for my family than I was for myself.
Right. That's great. You made a statement that you wanted to be Rookie of the Year. That was like a goal of yours. And, that it's was it a lot of pressure? To put that, because sometimes when you make a statement like that, did it put a bullseye on you? Like, did it, or was you ready to live up to, the pressure, deal with the expectations, everything like that? Because
that's where my confidence was. I believe I said I wanted to be Rookie of the Year and MVP, I seriously meant that. I believe if I was healthy my rookie year, that I could have had a good possibility of achieving all those. But again, that's just where my confidence level is, and that's how I carry myself. That's how much I believe in the work I put in. If you ask people growing up, I used to always tell people that I feel like I'm the best in the world. Not cockiness, but that I believe that I can compete with anybody. And that's just the way I carry myself. I come out with the edge that I believe that the work I put in will always show, and the God gifted talent that I have, will show too. So I think it just put a lot of spotlight on me, but it was nothing that was too much for me. I feel like I've been through almost everything in my life as far as pressure. And I feel like that's what makes me the player that I am. When pressure comes, I stay the same. I don't try, I don't try to speed up. I don't try to slow down. I just, I think that I refer to my habits, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, that your habits come out when you're under pressure. So I just try to, practice the right habits, so when that time comes, that it's the same thing.
Now, to clear it up, there was never any beef between you and Lonzo Ball, or you trying to disrespect his game or anything like that, right? Because I didn't take it like that, but I saw a lot of articles that were trying to spin it that way. So just to clear it all up,
not at all. I mean, he's an unbelievable basketball player. I never talk down on any man. You know, they put their pants on just like I do. But I definitely believe in my talents. Like again, that's what I'm supposed to say. You know, when I'm asked about another guy, you know, I'm not supposed to say another guy's better than me. But again, I have respect for everybody I play. I respect all men that I play against. But you know, again, I go back to believing in my abilities that I put in, and I believe that, you know, with the abilities that I have, that I can play better in certain situations. So.
Understood. So let me ask. So you get to Philly, right? And I want to ask you this because how you meshed with Ben Simmons, and the reason why I'm asking this is because, you know, to me, you both were ball dominant. You know, so I didn't really understand how it was thought originally to work, to how you all would complement each other, like what the plan was, because you both were ball dominant. He, you know, point guard. You, so how did that mesh? Like, how did you see it working, or possibly it working?
I just seen it as a basketball player. I feel like, you know, in most of today's NBA, you see two guards on the floor. My biggest thing was doing whatever I needed to do for the team win. So if that had him push on the board, I just wanted to give him space, make it easy for him, and just try to create and make everything easier for him. So, again, my main goal was just to go out there and do whatever I needed to do to win. So it didn't matter who was on the floor with me. I'm just going to do whatever I needed to do to help our team win. And I feel like, you know, we had times where we played really well together. I just feel like it was so much hype around, you know, certain things of certain people being a point guard, you know, the way that, you know, my shoulder was going without me shooting as much as I did in college at that point in time. You know, it was all this speculation and all these hopes, and, you know, people had what they wanted to happen. And when stuff doesn't go the way they want it to go, you know, everybody just starts talking a lot. So again, that goes back to me just worrying about myself and just working on my game, and, you know, my teammates. You know, I know they all knew I was out there competing for us to win, and the same with Ben. So that's just the way it went.
So you mentioned your shoulder, and so, you know, you injured your shoulder, and you initially tried to play through it and not tell anybody about the injury. And right, am I correct?
Yeah,
with that?
absolutely.
So walk me through that process, because people don't really understand how it works sometimes. And you know, I'm sure the pressure of being number one had a contributing factor a little bit about why you wanted to play through the injury. But walk me through that process.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't just know just my love for the game. You know, growing up in the area I grew up, you know, you have bumps and bruises. But that's where it becomes a business, and taking care of your body. And me being who I am, loving the game so much, I feel like, although my shoulder messed up, I feel like I can still contribute to the game and help my team win. So I wanted to go out there and just compete and have fun with the game. And also, it's my first year in the NBA, and I think that I did a poor job of communicating to my agent and my family what I was feeling, instead of just going out there and trying to compete without expressing what I was feeling. And all I was doing was making it worse. But when I realized that, you know, certain situations weren't going my way, I knew I had to speak up, and I had to do what's best for myself. And I think that was the toughest part about it, because I felt like I could still play and contribute to my team, but I wasn't myself. I wasn't 100%, and it wasn't what was best for the team. So I took that time to, you know, try to figure out what was going on, and I went to go see certain doctors, and started that rehab process then. But I think the biggest thing that I learned from that is just, you know, taking care of my body and communicating that, you know, what I feel to not only my agent, my family, but also trainers and stuff like that.
So how long were you in pain before you told anybody?
I actually, my shoulder had been starting like a little bit before training camp, in training camp. But me knowing me, I just thought it was from how much work I was putting in, from me shooting so much that, you know, my shoulder was just, you know, sore. So I'm trying to work through it. You know, I'm going in the gym shooting thousands of shots, making thousands of shots, you know, trying to shoot through it. And the whole time I'm just, you know, continuing to make it worse. But again, the mindset that I had, you know, I'm just trying to grind. I'm trying to continue to, you know, work through these issues, and not knowing that I'm making it worse. You know, again, I'm just kind of being young and being selfish, I would call it, in a sense, with not understanding my body. And I think that was a big part of it. And again, once I communicated, I started to get the help that I needed, and I started to work in rehab, and it started to get better.
You mentioned you learned how to advocate
Yes.
for yourself. I want you to go a little more detail with that and speak up, because still a lot of people don't really understand how it works with team trainers and team
Yeah.
doctors, and how a
Yeah.
lot of times players have to speak up and advocate for themselves. Just go into a little bit more detail about that for me.
Yeah. And there's no shade on any team or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, but it's a business at the end of the day, and sometimes again, it's a long season, so you have bumps and bruises, and sometimes some people play through it, and some people don't. Everybody's body is different, so especially not knowing a person and not knowing the situation, if you don't communicate and advocate for yourself, you never know what can happen, and it can be something as small as your toe hurting. But what I've learned so much about my body is your body compensates, and we're so good at as athletes and as humans that if we're trying to do something, our body's gonna find a way to do it. So it might not be the right way, but we can do certain stuff and hurt ourselves down in the long run. And
Right.
so my one thing would be is try to be in tune with your body as much as you can. And as small as your toenail hurting, I mean, you always get this phrase of you're soft or you're whatever. But what I've learned is I'd rather over communicate about how my body's feeling and still be able to work out. I still want to work out, but I'm going to let you know, hey, my big toe's hurting. Hey, my right hamstring is feeling like this today. My knee's feeling like this, so that they can start to know that you're caring about your body and you're documenting certain stuff, so you don't end up compensating and hurting yourself down in the long run.
It's interesting. You go to different gyms, they could be even as young as high school, and you see phrases like painted on the wall,
Yeah.
like pain is weakness leaving your
Yeah.
body and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I hate that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I do, because it puts the wrong mentality
Yeah.
into players to thinking that
Yeah.
them being injured is somehow their fault. Like they're not being tough enough to
Yes.
play through an injury. And I just personally cannot stand that mentality at all.
Yeah, and I think that's how I kind of grew up. Like, not in a bad way. I don't think that I think that the way that you look at things, like again, like growing up, like I'm playing through whatever. Like I don't want to be soft. I want to show down tough. But when you get to a certain point where your body is your brand, your body is your car, your body. So you need to take care of that thing, like it's like a Ferrari. Like you hear phrases like that, but it's true. Like you have to take care of your body. You have to get the right recovery. You have to get the right sleep. If not, it's going to end up hitting you. It might not hit you right away, but down the road, it can give you certain side effects, or you never know. It can lead to something, happening right away. But there are also freak accidents that happen. But I think that's the one thing that I would recommend to any player at any age is just communicating about your body. Doesn't mean that you have to sit out of a drill, but it can start to put awareness on people's mind. You can start to document certain things, and you'll have a better understanding going forward of why you do what you do.
But I think that sometimes a player does have to sit down. A player does have to say, okay, I can't go. You're going to talk bad about me. You're going to tell. So I use the example a lot with my son about RG3. So when RG3 first came to DC, my son was the biggest RG3 fan on earth.
Yeah.
And then I took him to like when they have the open scrimmages. So he met him, and RG3 was like cool with him, and they took a picture. And biggest RG3 fan, forever since then. And you remember that game where RG3 was limping out there, and so I'm watching that game with Malcolm, and he was like, "Why is he playing? What is he doing? He's gonna injure himself more." This is what a young Malcolm is saying. And sure enough, in that his entire career, the trajectory of everything went downhill from there. And then you saw the trainer say, "Well, I didn't tell him to go out." Nobody want to take responsibility. No, but it should be the trainer's job to tell you that you are going to hurt yourself more if you continue playing. And that's the problem that I personally have with a lot of NBA trainers. It's not throwing anybody in particular under the bus. This is a league-wide issue, is that they're employers of the team, and they want to do what's best for the team, not what's best for the player.
Exactly, and that's where it comes back to a relationship. So you have to have the certain people in your corner that's going to always keep it real with you, because at the end of the day, like I said, your body's your brand, and it's about the longevity. Like, it's different if it's game 7, in the playoffs or championship, and you're, sacrificing for that. But, early in the year or certain times in the year, what I've also learned is rest is a big part of, recovery and getting the right amount of rest. Like, some days you got to go hard, and some days you have to, not do anything at all. I mean, you can do some light stuff, but I think that's like you hit it right on the head. Like, you know, some people mind is set for the team. Not everybody has the best interest in yourself. You have the best interest in yourself. So I think that's why it's huge to communicate how you feel, you know, to whoever it is, whether it's your mom, your dad, your trainer, whoever, and do what you feel is best because you know your body the best. Nobody else can tell you how your body is supposed to feel, how your body feels at that time, you know.
Right.
And I think that's where I learned how to advocate the most for myself, and I've got more respect from a lot of people when I do that. You know, and
Definitely.
again, it doesn't mean you soft, doesn't mean that you don't like to do certain things. It's just being smart about certain things. But at the same time, you do have to push yourself in certain limits to be able to, you know, it's going to be certain days where you're sore and you still have to push through. That's part of it, but it's a difference between sore and hurt or pain,
Yes.
you know.
Right.
So just trying to learn, the sooner you start to communicate certain things, you start to learn what's pain and what's okay to work through and what's not to work through. And that's where I think I've learned the most. I've learned how to identify what's going on in my body and understand, you know, what I need to do to make that feel better, or if I need to take rest, or if I need to go get treatment, you know. So
yeah, I mean, like I always heard the saying that there's a difference between being injured and hurting.
yes.
So sometimes you're gonna have to play through being hurting. That's just part of being an athlete. But being injured, you need to sit down.
Story.
You know what I mean? That's totally different.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, I want to add a few specifics. I remember seeing some videos of you watching you play and seeing your different routines on the free throw line. And I just wanted to ask what was that with when you was trying to push through it? Was it part of the rehab? So there was one where you would kind of pat the ball like this and then shoot it, and then there was somewhere you would go up and it would be kind of like a hitch kind of. Like what was going on with those?
So what a lot of people don't know is what TOS is. It's a nerve. It's like when your nerves are getting pressured on, and you start to lose feeling in your hand, certain thing like that. So at the time when I was playing, I still had TOS. I wasn't diagnosed with TOS. I still was working through certain shoulder stuff. But again, my love for the game, you know, I still wanted to be out there. And when I would do
so TOS, let me just say, is thoracic outlet syndrome. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And TOS is another thing people don't know. TOS is not diagnosed through an MRI, CAT scan. It's very hard to diagnose TOS, which is, you know, a big part of why, you know, in the beginning, I kind of thought that nothing was going on. And I just thought it was my shoulder because when I got MRIs and I got the, you know, scans, I didn't see anything that was going on. But I had to continue to, I know my body, you know, I know how to, I went from shooting 40% in college to come to the NBA. It's so funny. People like, he changed his shot. Like, what would I change my shot for? There's no reason. So that was one of the funniest things that I heard. And then I used to hear all these rumors about motorcycle, but that's another.
Man, there's so many different rumors, and I'm gonna ask you about that with me because they got the story wrong so many times. Like I've heard so many different stories,
and that's what was the funniest thing because. To me, like I never went out to address because I didn't care about that. Again, my main focus was getting back on the court, doing what I needed to do. But some of the stuff I used to see, I used to be like, yo, that's crazy that somebody actually like believes with. But it also taught me another thing. You can't believe everything you read.
Right.
But yeah, so like pretty much what people didn't know is so when I was going, the whole thing on my shoulder, when I would try to shoot, it almost felt like I had a too small suit jacket on. So I would try to go up, and it felt like somebody was almost holding my arm. And that's like I would try to move fast, but I felt like I couldn't move fast. So what I end up doing is continue to try to shoot on it. I end up building up more and more pressure on my shoulder where I'm not using it right. I'm starting to hinge my shoulder up. I'm starting to use the wrong muscles, and I'm building bad habits. But what people don't understand is I'm out there playing still, you know, still trying to shoot, still doing this. I was still making free throws. I wasn't very high percentage, but I was still making free throws. And so the first thing when I would go up, sometimes I would lose feeling in my hand. And so that's the reason I double clutch because I would get here and I wouldn't feel like the ball was in my hand. So, but when I come up, my feeling would come back because the way it is when I'm going through a certain motion, my muscles are pushing on my nerve, which is cutting my feeling off. And when I go through, it releases off the nerve, and that's when I'll get my feeling back. So when I would do the double clutch, it was because when I would get here, I wouldn't feel like the ball in hand. So it was no way I was shooting if I don't feel like the ball in my hand. So I would go up a little bit, and it would come back. So I would just come from here and shoot the ball. And so when I went to practice, I'm like, all right, that's not working. So let me try something else. So another thing I tried to do was this wouldn't have me holding the ball. So the desensitization of just moving the ball back and forth until I get it to where I get feeling, which is right here, then I can just shoot. I was fine shooting from there. If I had just caught the ball here and shot up, it was perfectly fine. So that was why I went to that, because I was just trying to be more efficient at the free throw line. I didn't care what people were saying. I was just trying to get my flow in. So when I got to where I needed to go, I can just shoot the ball fine. But again, that was another realization of me compensating. And I said, Markelle, you don't need to compensate. You need to get healthy. And that was another instance where I talked to my agent. I just told him, like, you know, I have no problem playing, and I just feel like I want to be myself, so I can just go out there and play, you know, without thinking, just playing my game, be who I am. And so that's where it kind of went from. But just a lot of, like, repetition of shooting the wrong way, it just builds bad habits, and it builds your muscle memory wrong. And so that was like the biggest thing, trying to get back to, and I'm still working on now. Something I'm always going to have to work on is just trying to get my brain to process the ball being over my head the same way. And it's something that, you know, is an everyday grind, but I'm enjoying it. You know, I feel way more comfortable now, and I feel the improvement. And again, I know my body, so I know what I need to work on to get to where I need to go.
Wow. No, you mentioned the media and how they, I mean, I would say they keyed in on you like vultures.
Yeah.
That's how I would phrase it. Yeah. I mean, and it's not just the Philadelphia media. Yeah. This was like all the media.
Everywhere.
You know, and I remember seeing this clip of your teammate at the time, JJ Redick, having your back. Tell me what happened with that.
So pretty much, you know, it was kind of weird to me, but again, no knock on anybody. But when I was in Philly, you know, I would work out in the back, but the media will always be in there. I was never really allowed to work out after. And again, I never cared, but I knew what was going to happen. You know, everybody wanted to see what Markelle was doing. I was the #1 pick at the time. You know, everything's going on. But you would just see guys continue to, you know, gravitate towards trying to record me and try to, you know, put out whatever they could, because, you know, as a reporter, I understand they have a job and they need to make headlines, but they were just always trying to get on me. And JJ happened to be shooting in front of him, and me and him have talked a lot. He was like a big brother to me, and he understood like what the media was doing. It didn't really affect me to a certain extent, because again, I knew what was going on, but he just stood up for me. You know, he was pissed of them recording me and just continued to focus on me so much. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he went off in front of the camera, just, you know, pretty pissed about them, you know, just continuing to mess with me and record me. And I really appreciate that a lot. And again, it was just showing like the big brother that, you know, he was to me. And it was just a grind, you know, of just, I had to block out the media because, you know, it was so much BS out there that, you know, if you continue to read it, it can bother you. So I just stayed off of, you know, social media and just worried about, you know, my family and trying to grind, you know, and get back to the game I love.
You know, and I think it's great that JJ stood up for you for that. That's how a vet's supposed to do for his young player. You know, but the media, like it's so frustrating. You know, I remember when I was playing and I had open heart surgery while I was playing with the Wizards. And so I had my surgery. I'm in a hospital bed, and, you know, a few days after recovery and stuff, and I'm reading an article from the Washington Post. Ivan Carter was the reporter, and he got all the facts wrong. Like what I had, what it was related to, related to other people who like died from heart surgery that had nothing, that wasn't even close to mine. I'm like, you can't do that. You have to, before you report something, and this is the Washington Post, you have to be clear on what you're reporting. And, you know, I wrote an article back to him, and, you know, I got it, you know, in the Post, and he wasn't happy. You know, reporters don't like when you correct them.
Absolutely.
But it's their job to get the facts right. I know they want to be first in breaking news. And, you know, this is nothing, you know, I'm not calling Ivan Carter out. This is a bigger issue with all of the media. You know, just how important because with you, there were so many different stories, not stories of whispers, actually articles of saying like you had a motorcycle accident, you dropped the weight on your shoulder, all this different stuff. And I'm like,
and I think that's where, again, like where I say you can't believe everything you read, but a lot of people think that just because a reporter put it out, it's factual.
Right.
And like, one thing that I learned, until I talk to the source of the person or until I talk to, somebody that's involved. And even then, I can read something, but I don't know how true it is. I can take it and read it, but I'm not going to judge a person or assume something about a person just because either somebody read something to me or I read something about somebody. Until I meet that person and interact and ask them, I'm not gonna. That's just how I am. But a lot of people just take off again what they read. They think that just because a reporter wrote it, that it means it's factual. But I think that's a big issue. But again, that's what their job is. Their job is to make people click on their link and try. And that's what makes it tough. But at the same time, that's where I'll just try to focus on what I can control, and just try to keep my same character, be the same person that I'll always be, and let my game do the talking.
Now, how many different doctors and specialists did you had to go to and visit before you was diagnosed?
I went through a lot. I think it might have been like 6 or 7.
Wow.
Again, I think that I was going to certain doctors, and again, it was MRIs. But I did start to figure out more and more from each doctor I went to.
Okay.
And they were leading us in the right direction. But I think that's where the patients came in. I think that was probably the hardest part, is trying to diagnose my injury, because for me, the mental of knowing that something's wrong with my body, but I'm going to the so-called people who are the specialists and doctors, but everybody specializes in something else. And they're saying like, yeah, there is something, but it's not, this, it's not that, and me just like, all right, it's not this. All right, I'm gonna go to, work out the next day and just grind and try to figure out, trial and error in some things. But when I finally went to the certain doctor that diagnosed me, he was just expressing certain things, and it was exactly what I was feeling. He didn't even mention anything. Like, we were just like, do you get this when you do this? And I'm like, man, that's exactly what happens when I get this.
Okay.
And that's when the first time I had the aha moment, like I believe that this is it. And we did certain tests, and it added up to, what TOS is. And what a lot of people don't know is there's 2 options to TOS. You can get surgery or you can do rehab. When you get surgery, they remove your first rib.
They remove your first rib?
Remove your first rib, because most of the time it's pressure on the nerve. So when you remove the first rib, it gives you more space for those nerves to be released and decompressed. But I had little success with rehab already. But when I had went back to playing, I didn't keep up with my rehab, and it started to progress backwards again. So I wanted to try, doing rehab, and rehab was successful. The only thing that about, nerve is there is no time period on when a nerve heals. So that's probably the toughest thing, like knowing that I'm going to have an everyday grind of some days I might feel good, some days I don't. But I understand that, and I understand what I need to do. But again, the toughest part probably of that whole thing was trying to figure out what was going on, because I knew something was wrong. Just happened to go to the right person to figure it out.
Now, how were the 76ers throughout this process? Were they supportive? Did they not want you to go see specialists? Did they want you to stick to their team doctors? How were they through this process?
It was kind of like, my agent did a great job of just getting me what I needed. Again, I think that's where the agents come in and also take care of your own body. You're always, you can always get a second opinion. Like I really suggest that for most players, even though, I love the doctors that we have in Orlando. Philly had their doctors there, but again, it's always good to get a second opinion, because one person might have something. You never know, and it doesn't hurt. And second opinion can always reassure you. But they were, I don't really remember too much, but I don't think it was like I remember just going to do what I need to do with my agent and handling my business. Like, again, at that point in time, I feel like, me personally, I didn't feel like I had enough, and I didn't want nobody to protect me, but I didn't feel like I was being treated like, a number 1 pick. I didn't feel disrespected, but I didn't feel like, like how JJ stood up for me. You get what I'm saying? I didn't have my organization standing up for me, and which, they're not entitled to, but again, that's what made me go into, I got to do what's best for myself.
Right.
And once I do that, I'll be able to do whatever I want. I don't care. As long as I have opportunity, I'll be able to do whatever I need to do on the court. So that's where my focus came into get healthy, Kel. So.
Wow. How were JJ definitely supported you vocally. Did any of your other teammates support you? Even not even vocally, but just internally? Did you feel that?
No, I felt at home. I love Philly. My teammates were amazing.
Okay.
They treated me like home. They were all good. They all believed in me. They seen my talent that I had. So, you know, they were all encouragers. Actually, another guy that was really big with me was Jared Bayless.
Okay.
He was another guy that, you know, was a mentor just talking to me, Joel Embiid. You know, we all were just cool. So, like, the experience there was amazing. Like, I didn't feel, like, hated or anything. Like, I felt
Okay.
very loved. Even from the fans, I think a lot of people get confused because they hear people in media talking about how the fans treated me bad, but I never felt like the fans treated me bad. I felt like, you know,
Okay.
they always showed love when I was in a game. You know, they were very supportive. They were very happy. I got standing ovation when I came back, you know,
Right.
and I understand that Philly love, like, you know, they die and breed their team, you know, so they're going to get on you if you're doing bad. They're going to love you doing good. And that's kind of how my mom raised me, you know, like you're going to get that tough love of, you know, you need to do what you need to do. And that's like coming from the area of DMV, like that's all we breed. So like
Yeah.
that never bothered me, but I think a lot of people got confused with, you know, the media talking about all the Philly fans do this, do that. But, you know, I always felt love when I was there.
So this is a part now that I want, you know, really young people, young players, you know, I'm going to show this part over and over again to my son and his teammates about how you persevered through the ridicule.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I didn't play in the area of social media, in the era of social media. I don't even know how y'all do that. It's a completely different thing than what, you know, I didn't have that. You know, but the memes, the jokes, the ridicule, you know, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN saying that you're a bust, you know. How did you handle all of that?
I mean, some stuff I thought was funny. You know, I am human. So again, I think another thing, I have tough love around me. So ain't nobody going to be more tougher on me than myself. And then also my close group of friends and family. And so, you know, I'm always going to be honest with myself. I think that if those things were true about, you know, what they were saying, I think that's where it starts to affect you. But I knew those things weren't true. So it really didn't bother me. But I think the biggest thing is, again, understanding that everyone's human, and that what somebody else says about you doesn't mean that is you have to look at yourself that way. I think that you have to hold yourself to a certain ability of A, believing in God, 2, believing in your work ethic, and 3, having fun with everything. I think that's always been my mindset of just, you know, enjoying the moment and enjoying the process of what I have, because again, I didn't know how anything happened, but I knew that I was playing a game I loved, and then out of nowhere, I couldn't play it to the best of my ability because of an injury. And so I learned to have an appreciation for every time that I went to work out, every time that I stepped on the floor. And I think that's what carried me through everything, like not really caring about, you know, what people say, because I knew what was true about myself. I didn't let somebody else say, oh, he did this, that, and the third, bother me, because I know that I go and I put myself in the position where I'm working as hard as I can and I'm doing everything that I can to help my team win. So I think that it's all about, you know, believing in yourself and understanding that everybody's not perfect. You can't be afraid to fail. You know, I know no matter what, nobody's made every 3-pointer in the NBA. Nobody's, you know, 100%. So it didn't really matter to me. I think the biggest thing that kind of I felt disrespected in some ways, because a lot of people saying I had mental issues and this, that, and the third. But I knew that the people that was around me knew that I was, to be able to go through what I went through and still be here. I don't see how people can say that, because I know a lot of people that would have quit, would have gave up, you know, would have not wanted to play anymore, would have not went out there and played with the injury I had. But I didn't care. I was out there front line in front of millions and millions of fans, shooting the way I was shooting, playing the way I was playing, because I didn't care about that. I knew who I am. I know what I bring to the table. And I think that was probably the toughest part, because there were times I would want to say stuff, but I know that my work and what I do will always outshine that. And, you know, it's not about, you know, always clapping back at somebody, because again, sometimes you clapping back shows that that statement is true. So my biggest thing is always just believe in the work, and everything will take care of itself.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing that you have that amount of wisdom, especially at such a young age. You know, but I'm sure you still had times of being discouraged.
Absolutely. That's another thing. I'm sorry. That's another thing. Like, I don't want people to think that it wasn't times where I was down. It wasn't times where I was upset. It wasn't times where I asked why this happened to me. But the thing about that, I didn't let those things linger. I'm human, so you know it's gonna happen. Where, you know, it happened when I was feeling the best of my life. You know, I would have a bad shooting day and I'll come home and be like, yo, like what's going on?
Right.
But that's where it comes to, again, not letting that sit in too long and understanding that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to fail, and using that to practice building the right habits of having the right next shot mentality, next, play mentality, and understanding that it's okay to feel bad,
Right.
and the biggest thing is not to dwell in that negative energy too long.
Right.
And I think my mom was a big preacher of that, understanding that, things are not going to always go my way, but I can't sit there and pout the whole day because the day keeps moving.
Right.
If I do that, I'll waste the rest of my day. So it's okay to feel sorrow, to feel down, to be upset, but don't let it last too long, because then that's when it starts to affect you. So I think that was one thing that always worked with me is it was okay to have this moment. It was times I cried, but I knew that fuel for me crying would add to my workout later, or would go to better, because I knew that better things were coming. I was already rock bottom, if it's so-called, to say that the only way I could go was up. So there's no point of beating yourself up more than you have to. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry, but understanding that, there's better things ahead.
That's great, man. That's really powerful. So,
yeah.
so now you're in Orlando. And in Orlando, it was like a new beginning for you, like a chance to kind of just start all over. And you looked happy.
Yeah.
Like you looked like you had the, joy while you was playing. Is that kind of how it felt going back to Orlando?
Yeah, it was just because I've been away from the game so long, not being able to play the game I love. That was what I worked all the way up to. And then again, like you said, having a new opportunity with a clean slate, it was just another opportunity, and that's all I asked for. Every day I wake up, and when I pray, I just ask for an opportunity to grow, and that happened to be my opportunity. And that's why I tell everybody, you control what you can control until your opportunity comes, and then you have to take advantage of it. And I just felt like all the work I put in, I had a chance to be back on the court. And again, like I said before, I had a different appreciation for the game, like knowing that I have no control over when maybe I can't play no more, or what something might happen. I got to enjoy the moment that I'm in. And that's when I started to realize, like, Kel, go out here, have fun, compete, but enjoy it. Enjoy it. And that's what I carry that to this day, like just enjoying every moment. Every day I step on the court, every time I wake up, it's a blessing. So I just try to enjoy it and make the best out of it.
In your first season in Orlando, you played 72 games.
Yeah.
You put up 12 points, 3 rebounds, a team leading 5 assists per game. You had that jerky playground magic back.
Yeah.
And, explosiveness, especially in transition.
Yeah.
Like nobody could stay in front of you in transition. And, you were amongst the top in the league in that department. Wouldn't you agree? And then on the defensive end, you was using your size to kind of like almost bully ball a little bit some of the shorter point guards. You know what I mean? And some of the smaller point guards. I mean, it looked like it was clicking on all cylinders, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that, again, it just showed, like, when you go out there and have fun, my God-gifted ability and what I worked on just started to show again. And you can just see, like they say, like, why they drafted me number 1. And I think that's my biggest thing. Every time I go out, I just go out there to compete and have fun. And I think my abilities that I have is the reason why I got drafted number 1, because the things I do, some come natural, some things I work on, but I just try to use my God size, my playmaking ability, which is one of the things I love the most. Is I feel like it's something that I still can do every day. And I just try to bring that to my teammates, of just knowing that I have their back and that I'm always going to be there for them. And I feel like defense has always been effort. Defense is an effort thing. And, some guys are more skilled than others, but the biggest thing is, as long as you give effort, that's all you can hope for. I can live with the results if I give my hardest.
I did notice that a lot of people that had all the mouth, all the negativity, all the saying you was a bust, they got real quiet.
Yeah, got quiet.
They didn't say, okay, I was wrong, he proved me. They just got quiet.
Yeah.
So you noticed that too?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's my favorite part about it. I love when people doubted me. That was like one thing that, like, I took with me my whole life. Like, if you said I couldn't make a shot, I would sit there and shoot it until I made it. And that's the one thing I pride myself on, is I love proving people wrong, because I don't know, it's just something about that makes me feel good. But I knew they were going to switch sides. You know, that's how the wave goes. A lot of people want to go against you when you're down and jump on the bandwagon when you're up. But that's why you got to know who the real ones are, because they're going to be the same no matter what. And that's why I love my real fans and the real supporters out there. And all the other people, you know, I have no hard feelings, but, you know, that's why I do what I do, just to prove to you that, you know, I'm the caliber player that I am.
And, you know, your mental toughness and perseverance really paid off. You know, you got a $50 million rookie extension with the Magic. Then I was seeing NBA Insider, of course, Adrian Wojciechowski.
Yeah.
He said, I want to quote him, he said, Orlando has been thrilled with his progress there, and he's become a key part of the franchise's future. Yeah. It's got to be great to hear that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. It's a blessing, man, just to know that, to have somebody who appreciates, you know, the hard work, and they can see the person you are as a man first, but also what you bring to the basketball court. I mean, it's what you dream of. It's what you put the work in for. And to have somebody supporting me the way they do, it just makes it easier to come in every day and just give it my all, because I know the people there actually want what's best for me. And again, that's why I love it here. You know, I appreciate the opportunity that I have here, and I want to take full advantage of it.
Yeah. Now, so 8 games into the season last year, you had a devastating injury. You tore your ACL. So now you have to pick yourself up again.
Yeah.
And talk me through that process of everything that you had to do mentally and emotionally and physically to pick yourself up once again.
Oh man, it was crazy. Just going into the season, a lot of people didn't know that right before that, my son was born July 12th. Right before I went in the bubble, I had my son born. So that was a blessing. And then going into the bubble, I had a motivation. But coming out of that, coming into the next season, I had a lot of motivation, especially spending time with my son, having a new family, and just all the stuff I've learned going into the season. I started out the season very well. We all did as a team. And just going into that game, you know, when I made the move and I felt my knee do what it did, at first, I didn't think that it was an ACL, but I knew it was something. But I was already mentally prepared for the worst. I wasn't like sad. I was pissed off a little bit because I wanted to play, but I understood that everything happens for a reason. You know, I just literally signed my extension. I want to say the day before I got hurt.
Oh, I didn't know it was that soon.
Yeah,
that close.
It was either a day or 2 days right before I got hurt. And so, again, that just showed me that everything happens for a reason. God knows what he's doing. And I had a newborn. So if I was playing this season, I probably wouldn't have been able to spend as much time as I would have being hurt with my son. And also being through my shoulder, I knew that the knee wasn't nothing. I know that they have a timeline of, you know, things you need to do. And then also having J.I. on my team who's towards ACL, I've seen the progression of, you know, that he's made and how good he's looked. So I wasn't really too worried about it. You know, I looked at it as, again, it's a blessing, an opportunity, you know, to rest my body. I also get to work on other things, my shoulder, my legs, my body. So my mindset automatically turned into, how can I make this an advantage for me? And that's exactly what I did. I started getting in shape. I started working on my core. I started, you know, having time to do stuff that I never had time to do before because I was so busy doing practice. And now I have to go to get treatment and go home and then come back. But now I had longer days where I could actually work on, you know, everything. I could communicate. All right, I want to work on my ankles. I want to work on my calves. I want to work on, and it was truly a blessing. So going into that injury, my mindset was just, you know, it's going to be a long process, but never look too far ahead. Again, it helped me realize that step by step, you can't go to the staircase and just automatically look at the top. You got to take it one step at a time. Right. And that's what I learned. So I take it one day at a time, just go in my day, just attack the day as hard as I can, and then live for the next day. Also have goals for long term, but I'm not worried about later. I'm worried about today, what I do today, and going forward. So, I mean, I've been feeling amazing. My body's probably felt the best I ever felt. I've had time to spend time with my family, also spend time with my teammates, just supporting them and helping them and seeing the game from a different angle. So this has all been a blessing. I'm feeling really, really good.
That's great. You know, I was looking at your media day the beginning of this year, and, you know, I saw the first thing that they asked you was about your timetable.
Yeah.
And, you know, I looked at you and you didn't look pressured.
Yeah.
You didn't look rattled.
Yeah.
You just calmly said, you know, there's no timetable now. I'm just working on hard and rehabbing. And you looked at peace.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just want you to talk a little bit about, you know, what it takes to get to that place where you're at peace. and you're not, because this is really for younger players.
Yeah.
Everything about you, players younger are going to be watching to see, because they're going to come through some adversity.
Yes.
Things are going to happen. So seeing how you handled everything is really inspirational to, and giving them the blueprint of how to be able to pull themselves out of it. So I can't say enough how much respect I have for you for that. But how did you come to that level of peace?
One, just knowing my body. I think this became with advocating for myself, understanding that I know my body well and that I don't want to rush anything. That's the biggest thing. I think in the beginning, I started to try to rush things, and I understood that, you can't rush, you can't rush greatness, and you can't rush the process. It becomes an everyday process. Some days are going to be good. Some days are going to be bad. And I think another big shout out, and is one thing that happened when I got traded, was the organization. I never felt pressure to play. The organization, the biggest thing was, we want you to be 100%. We want you to, feel good, and it's going to be a two-way street of when you go back on court, what you expressing to us that you feel good, and also when we do the right test that we feel like you need to do, that's when you go back out. But it's a two-way thing. It's not going to be just, oh, we want you to go out there and you got to go. They always made it very, very sure that I knew that there's no rush. They want me to take care of myself, and especially signing a new extension, I'm not in any rush at all. I want to make sure that I'm giving my team the best me, and I want to give myself the best opportunity to go out there and be the best me. So that's where I kind of got more mature of understanding, because it's still times now where I'm out there just watching my teammates play, or if I'm working out and I'm feeling really good, I'm like, man, I want to go out there. I think I'm ready to go home.
Right.
But I got to understand that it's a process and it's not a rush, because if you do that, you can set yourself back further than you already are. So just understanding that, my love for the game is something that I kind of have to hold off sometimes, because seeing them compete and wanting to help them so much, I want to go out there, but understanding that I just would be hurting not only myself but the team if I'm not 100%.
No, I understand that. So like I said, much respect to you. My mother would always tell me this saying, and she would say that sometimes the things that you go through aren't meant for you. They're meant to help somebody else.
Exactly.
And you're the perfect example of that. And everything that you've, gone through, that you've persevered through, that you had to deal with, and everything is really going to help a lot of people. So I just want to tell you, much respect to you, man. I'm rooting for you. You're going to have a lot of people, especially here in the DMV, all rooting for you, all at DeMatha, all over, all the young guys love you. So much respect to you, and keep doing your thing.
No, I just want to say one more thing before I go, just to everybody out there. Anything you want to do in life, it can be a school, want to be a doctor, whatever. Just, my biggest thing that helped me was setting goals for myself, believing in God, listening to the people that actually care to me, and not letting anybody tell you that you can't do something.
Man, that's great advice. That's great advice, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep doing your thing. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Absolutely.